It's Reese's last pod of November, so let's talk Avatar. Hi guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we discuss what the hell is going on? I've just lost my mojo. Welcome back guys to Casting Commons. This is a show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the Avatar enthusiast himself, Reese.
Hello.
I messed that up, I'm sorry. I deeply apologise. This should be perfect for the last one of November. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, very good. I basically have no magic news at all because I was getting married this week, so that's basically took up all my time.
Damn.
We did play some pick up games with Party Box, but that was about it.
It was pretty good. We even got your mother to learn to play Party Box as well for a brief 3 turns, which was always entertaining. But yeah, glad you're doing well. It was a fantastic day, just in case I was curious. I was actually invited. I was surprised myself too. You know. But anyways, before we start, do not forget to support us by rating us 5 stars on Spotify, following us on Twitter at CastingCommons1 for those most recent Pauper Decklists, and of course, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. So, enough about you and you getting married and you going on your honeymoon and enjoying life and all that sort of stuff. We're here to all be miserable and talk universes beyond. But no, in all seriousness, we're gonna say because obviously it's Reese is on his long-winded flying of honeymoon. I'm gonna miss him. Sorry, it's already gonna be a bit weird, but still, we're gonna talk The Last Airbender and sort of how the whole thing's not out, so we're kind of just gonna talk about how it feels as a Magic set for us, the things that they've got in the set and how do we feel about that, and then sort of some cards to sort of talk about as well, and then potential things that we'd like to see out of it, right? Seems fairly easy enough. So, first thing I kind of want to touch on is, how do you think the set feels as a Universes Beyond Magic-y set?
I guess sort of initially, it feels a lot more like a Magic set. I don't know if that's because Spider-Man was so, dystopian. Like, it felt completely detached from the game. Like, it didn't feel like a real set. That maybe makes this feel better than it maybe would otherwise, like in a vacuum. But initial looks, like the spoilers look pretty good, like they feel pretty magic-y looking at them. The art style I thought would be a bit maybe disjointing, but it seems to work really well, to be fair. Like, it gives me Portal 3 Kingdoms vibes on a lot of the cards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it seems to work really well.
Yeah, we're both not really Avatar Last Airbender fans by any stretch of the means. Like, I don't get any of the references or whatever. I sort of roughly kind of know an overview synopsis, but that's kind of about it. But yeah, I do agree. It definitely seems more like a Magic set than obviously previous stuff. And it does sort of fit in. Obviously, they've utilised a lot of good stuff, like good sort of mechanics already from Magic sets. Like, obviously, lessons are a big one. But yeah, it does seem like it does sort of fit. But yeah, I don't know if it's because we've had such a bad set previously that this one looks better and it's more tolerable, or if it actually does feel like a reasonably... And it also looks reasonably well designed. My only problem I have with these, which is not really actually Pauper, I don't think, is them... But they had them in the previous Universes Beyond stuff, is them god-awful alt art cards. Like the one in particular I'm thinking of is it the Valakut one or the Force of Negation or whatever it is, and they're basically like scenes out of the film or the TV show or whatever, or the comics or whatever, and they just plaster a text on top.
There's one is it the Krill Shooter that's just like a zoomed in picture of some guy's face.
Yeah, like what the fuck are they?
Yeah, they are bad. They are definitely a miss. But yeah, I think generally overall it seems to be done pretty well in this is actually a Magic set. Which Universes Beyond, like, it's a weird one. It either feels like it fits very well or it just doesn't fit at all. Like, there's no middle ground. Like, we've got Lord of the Rings, which was basically like the perfect Universes Beyond for Magic. Like, it just fit right into the universe completely. And then we've got Spider-Man and SpongeBob, which just look like fake cards, basically. They just look like joke products. I think if they do more Universes Beyond in the style of, or in the, what's the word? Like, pick better properties, like pick stuff like Avatar that fits quite well. Pick stuff like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that slide in very well. Like, more fantasy stuff. It just seems to work better. Like, you look at the cards and like some of these cards could just go in any set. Like, there's Badger guys that you could just go in Bloomburrow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the mechanics as well, just touching on them, the 4 main new mechanics, which is the bending mechanics. Is it air bending, water bending, earth bending, and fire bending? They all also feel very magic-y.
Yeah.
It's not like the web slinging, which sort of just immediately didn't feel magic-y because of the name. Yeah, they all feel very magic-y. And they seem quite good, like, on initial reading.
Yeah, definitely. So then the kind of next thing I also want to touch on is the interesting thing that we've never really seen before. Obviously, we had lesson cards in Strixhaven, but they were also accompanied by learn cards. For those that don't know what they are, is a learn card is a card that you put in your main deck, and it can either rummage, which is either discard and draw, or you can pull a lesson card out of your sideboard, and that lesson card has this sort of symbol in the top left corner to show it's a lesson card, and you can pull it from your sideboard and then put it into your hand, basically. But this set has lesson cards, and quite a lot of the spells are lessons that we've seen so far. But they've said that there's gonna be 0 learn cards in there. So the lesson cards are essentially just normal cards, but with the lesson symbol. I would assume for flavor purposes of, Avatar or Aang or whatever it's called is supposed to be having these lessons throughout the TV show, and that's kind of what they stipulate, I'm guessing. Don't quote me on that, people. But
well, it's also an extra type, isn't it? So you can have cards that are like, whenever you cast a lesson, do this. Which, like the red card that we were speaking about before, I guess is a good example. The Fire Nation Cadets. It basically has an ability if there's a lesson card in your graveyard, so you can like proc off types. I think this is probably a good thing, to be honest. I think I really like lesson cards. I really like adding a type and using that type to like utilize different effects. But I think the learn cards were probably the worst thing about the lesson cards, because it's just a recipe for disaster, basically pulling things from areas that aren't in the game.
I think
it's very easy, I would say, to just be like, oh, this lesson card is way too good, or it's in every deck, because every deck just has a colour of learn card, and they just play this learn card to pull this lesson out the sideboard. And without that, you sort of mitigate that problem quite a lot.
Yeah, I think the thing for me is, the 2 things I do like is, like, obviously the learn cards we have now in Pauper aren't amazing. They're sort of very mid. You've got the notable ones. You've got, like, I think it's Hunt Specimen is the card that makes a 1/1 and then learns. You've got First Aid Class. You've got Pop Quiz. You've got Cram Session. Like, they're all pretty mid. But then you've got these lesson cards, which all seem really good in this set. So then we do have the interesting experiment now of these good situational cards. It's like, you can, like, where do these fit? Like, are they then good enough to play these really mid learn cards? Which is a really interesting thing for Pauper in particular, just because we have bad learn cards. But I do agree. I think lessons but no learn in generally in a set is actually good. I also think I wouldn't be against the opposite as well, as in learn cards or lessons. Like, obviously you've effectively just got rummage, but it's less exciting. But one thing that I do want is I want more lesson stuff for the main deck. Like you say, as the Fire Nation Cadet, it does something if you have a lesson. And I hope that's not the only thing we get in Pauper. Like, I want more of a reason to play lessons in the main deck, not just because they're good cards with a lesson type.
Yeah, I think that there probably will be. Obviously, we don't have all the commons spoiled as of yet. I think we have around 80. But judging by the way they're going, like, they seem like they're heading in the right direction to having some stuff that is playable, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess I want to touch on what we want to see, I guess, or what will be good to see at the end of it.
Yeah.
Before we touch on the cards that sort of stand out. So a couple of things that mainly for me, the main one for me, obviously, is the first thing as soon as I seen lessons and no learn was Mogwart support. That is like a big thing for me. Like, obviously, it's some sort of copium. We have some reasonable-ish cards so far, which sort of potentially good for it, but I definitely would like to see some more. Obviously, first day of class, a card in Mogwart has learn. So usually you pull the... I can't remember the name. It's like a 3-mana preordain, basically colourless preordain, which effectively just scries 2, draw a card. So you get to pull like a dig spell while comboing off is sort of the reason for doing that. And that is all we really have access to. We've got other lesson cards, but they're nowhere near as playable as the ones that we can see now, I would say. So yeah, I definitely like to see something there. I don't know what that would be, and I don't know if we've already got what we like, sort of like the max potential, which we'll sort of touch on obviously when we look at the cards so far. But yeah, I'd like to definitely see some sort of Mogwart support in that sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the combo is good enough anymore.
Yeah, it probably isn't, but still.
I guess like if you got something like an unearth with a lesson type, something like that you could just pull an unearth from your sideboard, like has the potential to make it good again, because then you could just like play the first day of class, pull an unearth your Putrid Goblin and just go off from there. But I think it would need something like that level of power level, or that level of integration into the combo, like a lesson that searched for a 1-drop creature, for example, something like that, something that was directly impacting the combo working.
Yeah, interesting. Anything you'd like to see or have something supported?
I think obviously we've lost a lot of tribal decks over the years. We've still retained obviously the main ones being Fae and Elves. There is slivers on the fringes, but a type that is being returned to with the Avatar set is Allies. It would be quite cool to see another creature tribal deck that focuses around Allies. There are a lot that are already playable in Pauper. Most of them are not good, but some of them are quite good. And I think if we got some strong, aggressive 1-drop Allies in this Avatar set, or like something like Hazard a Freeblade but downshifted to a common, we could see an ally deck sort of emerge.
Yeah, no, that'd be definitely pretty sweet, because Allies has always been like a beloved sort of archetype, right? So
yeah, I think generally like the ones we've got now are probably just all overcosted. There's a lot of 2-mana ones that are very close to playable, that just like 2 mana gets bigger every time you play an ally. Or there's the life gain one, and I think there's a mill one as well that's 2 mana. They all seem pretty close, but it's like they're in different colours. There's not really other stuff tying them together.
Yeah.
Some solid 1-drops, I think, is basically the key to this sort of having potential.
Yeah, I think obviously at the moment from the allies that we've seen, right, they're not it's not like old, like where the word did, you know, like whenever an ally enters, do this, when they just sort of have that type, I'm assuming for obviously lore and flavour purposes, which is still fine. You don't necessarily, all of them need to be ally payoffs, you just need them to be good statted or well costed, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the ones that we have already playable, like in the Battle for Zendikar ones or the Worldwork ones, are sort of payoffs in themselves. As like the mill one from Worldwork is just whenever it or another ally enters.
Yeah,
and I think there's is the Oran Reef something, that is a 2-mana 1/1 that gets a counter when it or another ally enters.
Yeah,
so it's like, if you can spam out a few guys pretty quick and make it a threat, stuff like that is pretty decent. But yeah, maybe 1-drops I think are key, and then maybe another sort of 3-ish mana payoffs.
And then the only other thing I sort of touched on, which would be cool to see, but I don't know how good it'll be, because obviously the problem that we discussed about lessons and, everything being good that way would be, if it'd be interesting to see if people could make the learn cards, like the bad learn cards, playable. But then if that's playable, then it is, I guess your hope is that it's just a bunch of situational cards that you can then pick one, and it's sort of like a mystical teachings, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But like sort of like a mid-range control style of deck like that, I would say would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I think something like a Gardens deck could utilize that quite well. Obviously, depending on the lessons that get printed, you've got is it 2 mana gain, 4 life, learn, and is it also 2 mana for the 1/1, like Mex the Pest and learns that are both black-green? If you had some lessons in this avatar set that was like, I don't know, a small, like, disfigure type removal spell or a deadly dispute type effect, or maybe you probably need both, to be honest. Stuff like that, like removal spells, draw spells that you can then pull out of your sideboard with these cards. Because then it makes your pest cards, for example, you make a pest and then you can either get a removal spell and kill a creature, or get a draw spell and sack the pest and draw cards. Like, it gives that a lot more value.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that those type of lessons are probably not getting made. They're probably too strong. But you never know. Like, there is already a 2 mana lesson that we'll talk about that is a draw spell. But it's just not black.
But again, though, right? Because obviously Cram Session's hybrid and Hunt Specimen's black. So in theory, you could be black X. So you could actually go black red or black blue, which then adds an interesting perspective, because there is like a 4 mana lesson that's draw 3, discard a card unless you're Waterbend 2 and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, these all could be potential cards that could see play. So it's pretty interesting for sure. That's what I mean. It adds a really interesting deck building dynamic. Obviously, the only problem is, as Reese mentioned earlier, is if one of them is way better and above and beyond, like, you then get to the point where all black decks play, like, say, 4 Hunt Specimen and then pull this card out the sideboard because it's that good of an interaction. It's that good card advantage or whatever it is.
I think that is the problem with the learn cards, is it means you can't really push the lesson cards. Because even if your learn cards are, like, awful, like 2 mana, make a 1/1, but it's got learn. And then if the lesson card's that good, like, you've now got 4 demonic tutors in your deck that just tutor for this lesson. So yeah, that's the main reason I like not making more learn cards, because it's very easy to make a mistake. Even if the learn card's then sort of playable by itself, like, you push that mistake even further.
Yeah, like I say, you could easily, like, if your lesson card is that good, you could go 3 lesson cards in the main, then you have 1 in the board to pull, and then just after the first one, have just okay cards that you'll just grab because you've already got your really incredibly strong card or whatever it is. So it's definitely a fine line for sure. For sure. My final thing that I kind of want to obviously touch on that I would like to see, just it's a card, more because it'll be incredibly fun content-wise, is an instant speed 1 mana Earthbend card.
Okay.
And it
doesn't matter on the number.
Doesn't matter. Any. Any number. It can be 1. Because all I want to do, because Earthbend is worded that if the land would die, it brings it back. So I kind of just want to do some weird ass cool shenanigans with that. The, like, new Capenna fetch lands, so it, like, comes in, sacks it, sells, sacks it, comes back, and you rampant growth, and you can also then, like, have this weird, like, artifact thing where they dust to dust you and you can bring your land back and all this random stuff. I just want to do some random ass fun with that, and that's what I want to see. But I know they're probably not going to do it, but I want to see it. Yeah,
I think the fact that if the land would die, it brings it back, makes it a lot sketchier to make it, like, super efficient.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll see. It'd be interesting to see. Like, the Earthbend one definitely has some cool ways it's worded and stuff, so it could be providing for some fun there. But going to talk about some cards that sort of initially stand out to us, right?
Yeah. The first one, I guess, is a lesson, like we've been speaking about. It's 1 and a blue-red hybrid for an instant lesson, and you may discard a card, and if you do, draw 2 cards. It's called Abandon Attachments. Sorry, I should have led with that one. Yeah, just a pretty interesting lesson. It gives blue a cheap, like, discard draw 2 madnessy outlet. It gives red another madnessy 2-mana draw 2 discard outlet that is also a lesson. So if that's relevant in some way. We've already briefly spoke about the 1-mana red creature that gets Firebending 2 if there's a lesson in your graveyard. So if that sort of aggressive strategy has something underlying, this is a card that could go in there. But yeah, just an interesting one. We obviously see a lot of 2-mana discard draw 2 cards played in Pauper at the moment. This doesn't have the immediate obvious payoff that something like Grab the Prize does, but it also has other upsides. It's hybrid. It's a lesson. You don't have to discard the card as part of the cost. It's once it's resolved, and that's when you discard the card, so you don't lose value that way.
Yeah, I find this card really interesting, right? It probably... So for me, unless the lesson payoff's there, it probably doesn't go into Madness, is my initial thought.
Unless they change colour.
Yeah. Well, sorry, unless the mono red Madness or black red Madness, it probably doesn't go in.
Yeah.
But then, as we obviously discussed, it's hybrid. So as you've sort of alluded to, you could have blue X Madness, which obviously is sort of kind of been a thing a decade or so ago or whatever, maybe even more now, Jesus. But then the other thing that I found quite interesting is you could potentially have this be like a spell that's sort of like a Modern Age-esque card in Terra as well.
Yeah.
The problem I think I have with this is obviously Terra is very tight and very strong as is, but you could essentially have this be, I can discard a Snacker if I draw it, I can discard a Deep Analysis, I can discard a random card that has flashback like Sleep of the Dead to sort of get some card advantage going.
And it's an instant, so it makes Terra cheaper.
Yeah, and then it's an instant, not an enchantment saga like Modern Age, so it discounts all that sort of stuff. Which is an interesting thought. I don't know how good it will be, but it's definitely...
Yeah. There's also, I guess, potential for something like Tireless Tribe that already plays cards that you want to discard. Obviously, usually you need a tribe in play to discard your Circular Logics or your whiteouts and stuff like that, but like this could slot in there as the draw spell of choice. Like, it means you can keep up Circular Logic without needing a tribe in play. It means you can like bin whiteouts and try and draw towards your tribe. It could be interesting there. And
doubles up. It's exact same hybrid color as Inside Out. So So obviously, most commonly now it's blue-white Tireless Tribe, but it has been Boros in the past. So if that wants to change, this can change with it, obviously, which is definitely an interesting one for sure. The next one is the new land cycle. So it is the two worth mentioning for me is Airship Engine Room and Boiling Rock Prison. So we have had this sort of cycle before, but it has been allied coloured, and the big difference is it's 2 and then the colours it taps for. So for example, the black-red one was 2 black-red, tap, sack this land, draw a card.
This is what tramway station from New Capenna was the land.
Was the black one, yeah. The black-red one, sorry, yeah. But then they've now added all 10, so which is always a bonus anyway. So you've now got enemy coloured, but then also being colourless to tap, sack this land, draw a card is obviously a big improvement as well. So my initial thought is the black-red one, again, going back to Mogwarts, has played Tramway Station in the past, so they could play this if they were to play it, and you could also not pick up the deck if you also want to do that as well. That is also an option. But Reese mentioned earlier about, obviously, like, say, the enemy-coloured ones, like Airship Engine Room. We haven't had the enemy-coloured ones before. We've only had, like, Scry lands, right? So you get access to actual land draw if you're flooding, so potentially a control deck or something, maybe? Or
so I guess, like, I guess firstly, for anyone who hasn't picked up on it, the basically a land with no types, they enter tapped, and then tap for one or another colour. So the Airship Engine Room is tapped, add blue or red. And you can pay 4 colourless, tap and stack it to draw a card. All of them are exact same, but obviously the 10 2-colour combinations. But yeah, it sort of gives options. Like, we had, was it ally coloured in New Capenna only? But now you've got like black-green. Seems like some gardens could possibly use. Blue-red is quite interesting in sort of a control shell. Obviously, it doesn't work very well with Scred. And you can't pull it with cards like Lorien, but it does draw cards late if you're flooding. I guess it's maybe even a potential for something like Tron. You get like blue-green, blue-red Tron variants, and you can now just have your dual land. You can sack it late. You can tap all your Tron mana, sack it, and draw a card, and see if you can find some action.
Yeah, they're just worth just noting that they exist, right? At the there's a few that could definitely go somewhere, but for the most part, it's just another option. Like, you could definitely see like Boros run this instead of like the Scryland that they've ran, or whatever. So it's pretty interesting for sure.
The next card that I am quite hyped about is something that we've sort of been wanting for mono black decks for a while, which is Callous Inspector. It's a single black for a 1/1 with Menace, and when it dies, it deals 1 damage to you, and you create a clue token. So it's, I guess, sort of a black Thraben Inspector type effect. But I feel like for a while, mono black Devotion has really struggled just getting early cards to play and to put black pips down. For a time, it played. There's a 2-mana one from Ixalan, right? 1 a black for a 1/1 that when it enters you lose a life and draw a card, which it played for a while and is an absolutely horrendous rate for a 2-mana 1/1. This is quite a good rate for a 2-mana 1/1. It's got Menace as well, so it can chip in for quite a bit of damage. And then obviously with black, you've got access to a bunch of sack, artifact, or creature, draw 2 card spells. This does that twice because you get a clue off it. And if you don't need to do it twice, you can also just crack the clue and draw a card. So yeah, I think it's quite an interesting one. It could also slot into like a black aggro, like a black burn, or one of the black creature aggro decks quite well as just a 1-mana evasive guy. That pays you off late game. Like, you can just basically swing it in like a percussionist, basically, and if it dies, and you get a clue.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one, right? For sure. I think obviously a lot of people have probably seen it in. I don't know if it'll fit into Sacrifice. Obviously, it seems a lot worse than most of the others. But yeah, as you say, like the big ones are like, it can be like a pseudo early Shambling Ghast-like card for card draw in like Gardens or Devotion is definitely a big pull. And just being like a 1/1 with Menace is definitely a reasonable stat line, right? Can't complain at that for sure.
Yeah, I think it is a weird one to evaluate because it definitely doesn't go in Sacrifice. I think you're right there. It doesn't make any token that you care about in that deck. Like, you just do not care about a clue token. You'd rather it just made a 1/1. So it just doesn't really fit in that. And then in Gardens, like, I feel like it's just probably worse than the Shambling Ghast in that because it's not a removal spell, and you're not really benefiting from the Menace, like getting the chip damage in doesn't really affect you. And the clue's probably just worse than a treasure off Shambling Ghast a lot of the time because you ideally just want to go turn 1 Ghast, turn 2 sack it, get a clue, ramp. Or remove a Priest of Titania or something with the -1/-1. So it is a weird one because it doesn't just immediately fit into the 2 black decks that we see the most play at the moment. But I think it's definitely one worth keeping an eye on. It's quite good stats for the mana. And if he dies, he draws a card, which is always a good place to be.
For sure. The next one I have is, it's also a black card, right? Which I feel like it's all I've talked about this this podcast so far. Is Azusa Always Lies. Is a 1 and a black instant lesson, and you can choose one or both. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, or you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. I guess it's fairly obvious where I'm hinting this card will go. This is a card you can pull with First Aid Class in your Mogwarts combo deck to reset your Putrid Goblin and potentially kill a Crackland Shaman at the same time.
Yeah,
or a Shambling Ghast.
I like that it's choose one or both. That makes it sort of more interesting than it would otherwise be, because I think if it's just choose one, it's basically just unplayable, right?
It's pretty poor.
But I think this is the type of thing. I don't think this is the thing, but I think this is the type of thing that Mogwarts will need to be relevant. Something that is basically, this is exactly what I want to do. And I want to pull it off my first day of class, for example.
Yes.
I feel like this probably doesn't get there. I feel like it's just too weak. You basically need, like, the situation is so niche where you need a first day of class, and then you also need to have a putrid goblin that's weak to reset, or something that's stopping your combo enough to kill. Otherwise, you're just like, well, why do I need this? Because it's 2 mana, it's black, so you can't even use it like to reset, like to gain mana if you weren't first day of class, and like if you'd previously tried to go off and pull it, and then you were trying to just like ramp or something, I guess you could sack your putrid goblin, cast this, but then it doesn't even net your mana because it's 2 mana and it's black.
I think the thing for me with this one, right, is it's not exactly what you need, but it's also probably just fine as a one-of to grab if it is. Is kind of where I'm, and that it sort of alludes to the problem of lessons. Is this is probably fine? Like, it's not great. It can, either if you do one or the other, it's sort of okay. Like, if they have a Crackling Shaman, you need it to combo off, you can first day class, use this, kill the Crackling Shaman, and then carry on with your day, sort of thing, or vice versa.
Even in that situation, like, how much mana do you need
to
make that work?
Believe me,
Because it's 2 mana as well.
I am not arguing that at all. But at the end of the day, that's kind of the thing. Like, with Mogwarts, it's very much, I need to find my window. They've played the hate piece. What's my window? Okay, I need 2 extra mana for this. I need to do this, and then you plan it out, and it sort of just sits there until you're ready to go, or you die trying. Which is usually what happens nowadays, to be fair. But yeah, it's kind of one of them things where it's not that good, but it's sort of both halves fit the plan. That it's probably worth a one-of. Like, even though it's, again, issues with lessons, right, with learn cards is it's mid, but it probably is situational enough that it's probably okay. But is it good enough to get Mogwarts back on the map? Probably not.
The next card that I thought was sort of interesting, I don't think it doesn't really have a home. It doesn't really get anywhere as of yet, but it's quite an interesting effect, and we are getting close to having like multiple like playable versions of this effect, which is Octopus Form. It's a single blue for an instant lesson. Tag creature you control gets +1/+1 against hexproof until end of turn, and you untap it. We've got, is it Dive Down is the other one called? And I think there might be another one as well that are sort of similar style effects, or basically protecting a guy and untapping it. A lot of them go in like Kiln Fiend, Nivix Cyclops piles, which is not the most interesting thing for it going, but sort of just a card worth touching on, I think.
Yeah, Dive Down gives +0/+3 in hexproof, and then Shore Up is essentially that, but without the lesson. Is essentially Octopus Form without the lesson, which is +1/+1, hexproof, and untap it.
And I guess it's sort of, again, worth mentioning that you could pull this off a learned card at instant speed as well. So, which is not irrelevant.
No, definitely. Like, you could get to a point where another first day class or another pop quiz, sort of like, you could have a combo deck that has like these sort of cards, and you just pull this out. Like, obviously it doesn't necessarily need to be Mogwarts, but another first day class combo deck could emerge, and then Octopus Form is a protection spell you can pull.
Yeah.
For sure. It's pretty cool. My next one is also a lesson card, but again, another one for Mogwarts, as always. Which is Origin of Metal Bending, which is 1 and a green for an instant lesson. Choose one, destroy target artifact or enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains indestructible until end of turn. So yet again, another modal card that either does something against a hate piece or resets your Putrid Goblin.
I think this is a really good example of why you can't have more learn cards.
Yes.
because your sideboard cards are now just all lessons. So you just get your sideboard cards in game one.
Yep.
Like if you have playable learn cards, like yeah, that sounds absolutely miserable. I like the card. It is a good card. It's nice that there's a naturalize with a relevant effect sort of tacked onto it. I'm not sure because of Bridges being indestructible, if this is going to see enough play over something like, I don't know, Declamor and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's a really good example of why lessons are good, but learn is really, really bad.
Yeah, and that's essentially what it is, right? Because as you say, it's a naturalized with upside. It has a lesson type, but it doesn't do anything for main. Like, you can't play this over like Heritage Reclamation in the main, right? Because it doesn't do enough. But then in terms of Mogwarts in particular, it's now just building up my sideboard full of situational cards that sort of help me.
Every sideboard card basically helps Fury Goblin that you've only got 4 of in your full deck.
So, but yeah, that is. I think it's the last card I'll talk about Mogwarts, I swear.
The next card that I had pulled out is quite a fun one. I don't really think it's playable, but it sort of seems a bit close. It's Turtle Duck. It's a single green mana for an 0/4 creature turtle bird. And you can pay 3, and until end of turn, this creature has base power 4 and gains trample. So it becomes a 4/4 trample for 3 mana. It's just sort of an interesting one with, I think, mainly Evolve and Experiment one. Having 4 toughness in like a green aggressive deck means if you get your Experiment 1 to 3 fairly easy, but then pumping it further than that is tough. But if you've got something like this that costs 1 mana, so you can just fit it in your curve wherever you need to, and then it makes your Experiment 1 bigger. It makes, if you've got any other evolved creatures, maybe like Cloudfin Raptor or something like that, it makes that bigger. And then late game, you can just pay 3 and it's a 4/4 trample, which is not an irrelevant stat line.
No, definitely. I think the card's definitely interesting, right, for a deck that's definitely underplayed. And it'll take anything at this point to sort of try and help it. And this is definitely close to sort of what it needs, right? A card that's sort of good for its early game, but also a good mana sink late game because everything goes 1 or 2 in the deck. So yeah, it's definitely a solid one. Pretty interesting. If it'll make mono green the best deck in the world, probably not. But is it going to be fun to probably jam and make the deck better? I'd say probably will.
Survives a lot of burn spells as well, with just being 4 toughness of dodges like the bolts, the chain lightnings, lava darts, etc., which is pretty relevant in that matchup.
Yeah, definitely. My next card is Forecasting Fortune Teller, which is a 1 and a blue creature, human advisor ally. When this creature enters, create a clue token. The first point is it's a discussion point for yet again another Seagate Oracle-esque slot for familiars, which probably doesn't really get there, but it is interesting. Fams has tried Augur of the Bolas in the past, etc. This is just, I'd say it's probably definitely better than that, but it's probably worse than Seagate Oracle, but is interesting in that slot.
Yeah, it's a weird one because obviously Seagate Oracle like has sort of been power crept out of the format just because it costs 3, and like nowadays 3 mana for that effect is too much mana. It's obviously a full mana less, but for a slightly worse, or potentially slightly worse ETB. It's an interesting one for sure. I think if you can utilize the clues in other ways, it could be quite interesting. I'm not sure what they would be. Maybe something like an improvise card, like the 5 mana draw card, draw 3 cards, improvise card,
reverse engineer. That's what it's called.
Yeah, stuff like that. I don't know. Just sort of thinking off the top of my head, but it's cool to have a Seagate Oracle that costs not 3 mana.
But there is an actual real reason why I did actually want to talk about this. That was just a highlight. This has the most relevant type going. It is an advisor.
Yeah.
Persistent Petitioner would love this card. They already play Pond Prophet, and they've played that Bellowing Town Crier, or whatever the hell the card's called. This card is a relevant body, like 2 mana 1/3 is a relevant body, and an advisor. That is literally all you need to know. It goes in Persistent Petitioner, and it will see play.
I guess that's maybe one of the things that sort of adds to the feel of this set, making it feel more like Portal 3 Kingdoms Magic-y. The fact that these creature types are coming back, like it's creature types we've seen before. It's not human spider hero. It's human advisor.
And
it's
an ally, which is
and it's an ally. Yeah. It'd be interesting actually on the sort of petitioners topic if we get more playable advisors for that. They've reprinted Corrupt Court Official or Court Official, something like that. The 2-mana discard a card, 1/1 advisor. And then you've got this guy. I think that's all we've seen up to now, but there's still a lot of commons to be previewed.
Types of mana in here, which is pretty cool.
The final card that we've pulled out to talk about is another lesson, and it's another lesson that makes Learn look like a bad mechanic. It's Zuko's Exile, which is a 5-mana instant lesson, and you exile tag artifact, creature, or enchantment, and its controller creates a clue token. Tron. Hello. Just 5 mana, remove anything that is important for 5 colorless mana. You can pull it from your sideboard with Learn cards, which is why we will probably never see that mechanic ever again.
Yep. I think this is an interesting one for me, like twofold. One, we already do have a 5-mana lesson that removes a creature. It's like a 5-mana sorcery lesson, exile a creature, and it does something bad. I can't remember the other, like it does, like the other side. I could pull it up, but I was being generally lazy and I thought I would remember as I was talking about it. But this being an instant is also very important. Obviously, instant is generally a lot better. It also hits artifacts and enchantments, which is another thing that is then a colorless answer to artifacts and enchantments. Creating a clue obviously does have a downside, but it's not the end of the world. But the thing for me is it's potentially as a main deckable card it's called Introduction to Annihilation. That's it. He's exile tag a non-land permanent, its controller draws a card. So it straight up makes them just draw the card. It doesn't give them a clue, so they have to put 2 mana into it. But it is a 5-mana sorcery. But the thing that's interesting for me with this is that like Monstertron-esque decks don't have removal. And this is a much better removal than Introduction to Annihilation, being an instant speed. They create a clue, so it's less relevant. They have to put 2 mana in to get the card. They don't just straight up get it. Which is kind of where I think this might actually be playable. I don't know how good it'll make Monstertron, but having colorless removal that's actually reasonable isn't the end of the world. Also not good that, as you say, you can pull it as any color Learn card obviously isn't a good thing. But if this card is that good, that it's like sort of a fine rate, like 5 mana, kill anything, it's like a free one-of in any deck that has Learn cards, right? Which is obviously not necessarily... But yeah, pretty interesting. Anything else to add?
Just looks like it will be a really cool set. It looks like it will probably impact Pauper. Like, these sort of are on the lighter side of power level, I guess, but we've got a lot more comments to come, and they're sort of heading in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Be cool. I'm excited for it.
So that's the end of the episode, guys. We basically spoke just shy of an hour about Avatar. So, but no, in all seriousness, we'll carry on going. We'll go through the tournament report, tournament news. Next, this weekend, there's PauperParty, 8th of November in La Black Forest region. That event is in the description below. And then near the end of the month, we have Pauper Spezl 2 in Munich, 22nd November, 64 player cap with signed cards in the prize pool. And of course, those beautiful wooden tokens. So check out the event description below. Also on that weekend, we have the RIW Pauper Championship at Livonia, Michigan. Have I said that right? Did I butcher that? Tell me if I butchered that. Anyways, that event is in the description as well. And then finally, of course, we have Nationals. Pauper UK Nationals, 29th of November, Secret Space, Birmingham. 210 player cap, and we have sold 138 tickets already on tickets sold. It is bigger than Nationals last year. Let's go. Everything's a bonus from here on out. Exciting. Gonna be a good event. Reese will be there. All jet lagged. Probably still. But yeah, gonna be a good event. Anything else to add to these tournaments?
No, happy to continue.
Flying through the news. The news is we have no news. Actually, that's a lie. That is a lie. The exciting news, I guess, I'm happy to announce that Calicai's will be taking over from Reese permanently. No, just for the 3 weeks that is on his lovely sunny, not sunny, maybe sunny.
Yeah, it'll be sunny.
Honeymoon. Obviously, send him your love on his travels. But we have the joy of Calicai's, who will be entertaining you for the next 3 weeks, if my maths is correct. So yeah, be good. And let's talk challenges.
Yeah, sort of a bit more back to normal, I would say, but it's still like pretty mixed up this week. Friday, the 31st of October, had 51 players. First place was Blue Black Fair. Second place was FAMS. Third was High Tide. Fourth was Jund Wildfire. Fifth was High Tide. Sixth was Mon Red Madness. Seventh was Blue Black Terror. And eighth was another copy of High Tide. Then the two near misses, Green Red Ramp in 9th and FAMS in 10th. High Tide's back, I guess. After being basically nowhere last week. The lists are sort of as you would expect for High Tide. Everyone's sort of trying their own one of, two of here and there. The third place list had a mainboard snap. I think the fifth place list had a mainboard snap and a mainboard auger. They're all just like the core's the same, but there's like a few different tweaks. The eighth place list had 3 augers. But yeah, generally High Tide is as High Tide does.
Yes.
Outside of that, there wasn't too much really spicy going on. Obviously, quite a bit of FAMs compared to what we're used to seeing. And Blue Black Terror as well, sort of raised from the depths deck that we don't see very often anymore at all. It was a lot more like aggressively slanted as well, with the Thought Scours and Artful Dodges all in the main. And Mental Notes, sorry. Thought Scours, Mental Notes, and Artful Dodges. 3 Artful Dodges as well, not just like a one-of.
It's a lot.
Their black was basically just supported by 3 dual lands and for essentially 3 anglers and 3 snuff outs. Is that it? Oh, there's 1 unexpected fangs as well. And then some sideboard cards. But yeah, a weird disfigure in the sideboard, which is interesting, I guess. It's been a long time since I've seen a disfigure BC player.
Interesting that they have like 3 snuff outs in the main, 1 in the side, and then the next sort of spell after that is like, I want a 1 of disfigure. Like not even like cast down or whatever. It's just I want a disfigure. But fair enough. Each to the run. Yeah,
very very cool to see Blue Black sort of coming back, and I guess it's a version of Blue Black that's a lot closer to mono blue than like the control or the snacker versions, and we see like there's still 2 Cryptic Serpents in as well as the 3 anglers.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It shows that obviously like with Blue Black Fae as well, making sort of like a weird resurgence. Like it's good to see like people analysing what they need the snuff outs for, or do they need removal, and like how that makes like slight deviations on decks, right? As you say, because this is basically essentially mono blue terror slanted, but it just then has snuff outs in, because it's like not even running the full set of aquifers, right? So which is really interesting that it's just using it, you basically utilising it there either for the Gurmag angler or for the like snuff out, or a mix of both or whatever sort of thing, which is pretty interesting. Main thing for me is just the FAMs, right? There's 1 in second and 1 in 10th. Yes. There's nothing too like exciting about them, to be honest. There's nothing too out of the ordinary. It's great to see FAMs has sort of slowly been making a resurgence. They are both of them are the Meet the Minds builds, right? Oh no, I'm lying to you. The second place one is the Meet the Minds build, and the 10th place one for Campo is the Modern Age Deep Analysis build. Still on that Sage Road Denizen as well, just because values his time, as we discussed last week. But yeah, it's pretty sweet to see that it's sort of made a comeback. It could be due to Blue Black making a comeback. It could be due to various different reasons. It could be pilot choice or whatever. But FAMS seems like in an interesting position, right? Like it seems like it seems solid-ish against the field.
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty sweet to see.
Anything else you want to touch on from that Friday?
No, nothing else from me.
So moving on to the Saturday, the 1st of November, 42 players. First place, High Tide. Second place, Pingerburn. Third place, Mono Red Madness. Fourth place, Grixfinity. Fifth place, Mono Red Madness. Sixth place, FAMS, back again. Seventh place, Gardens. And eighth place, Elves. And then the two near misses, ninth place was Spy Walls. And 10th place was Mono Blue Terror. Yeah, High Tide is... it took a week off. And now it's like, please ban me, PFP. I am here, please ban me.
Waited the week before just to be like, come on, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
But no, interesting to see both High Tide and FAMS sort of coming back out of nowhere to just dominate, really, do really well in the two challenges we spoke about and the next challenge as well, spoiler. Again, the High Tide, nothing really. This is probably the most stock list, I would say, from the ones we've seen. There's no snaps, there's no Augur Bolasses, stuff like that. It's just straight up spells, hidden strings, stream of thoughts, etc. One of them muddle a mixture, I guess. Sometimes might be a fourth hidden strings rather than the three. But the sideboard's quite interesting because I've got 4 Valaji archaeologists. So completely disregarding Augur Bolas and going all in on the archaeologist instead. Quite cool.
Yeah, definitely. How much this whiffs? Like never.
Yeah, basically.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. You've got, what, 45 hits in the main. I guess you have to take some out to board them in. So you'll be like 41 hits. Yeah,
interesting.
Probably. And you've already got 2 lands in play. Like, it's probably just all hit every time. Yeah. Outside of that, the actual Pingerburn sort of making another statement with the 2 Thermos, the 4 Keswick Flamebreathers, and then 6 2-mana draw spells. I guess it's gone a bit more like lower down on the curve. There's the last one we seen, did it have the full 8 2-mana impulse effects?
Yeah.
This one's cut 2 for 2 synths. Not as good with Thermal, but still as good with Flamebreather, and turns your Goblin Tomb Raider on a lot more often.
Yeah.
Suplex in the sideboard as well, which is sort of become a mainstay red sideboard card, I think, at this point.
Really like that card, to be fair. It's pretty solid.
Outside of that, there isn't too much that really stands out to me. I don't know if there's anything you want to touch on. Maybe the FAMS again. It's Campo again.
Yeah, it's Campo
with the same list.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me is obviously not in general as in a list, but it's interesting to see, as you touched on there, with the High Tide and the FAMS return. Like, is it just, and I guess it sort of kind of marries up to Madness, like Red Madness a little bit, having this air quotes combo finish or combo potential. Like, is it just super important in this like mid-rangey sort of world to just have access to, like, obviously, like FAMS is like this control deck at heart that has a combo aspect to it. And is it just good to, if we have like, say, I don't know, is the potential for some like, people have played like Jund Wildfire but with Pili Pali combo, for example, like, is having a combo potential finish like really important at the moment? Because it does seem like that's the reason why having this resurgence, which is an interesting thought, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a get out of jail free card for the control decks. Where, if needed, they can basically just finish a game.
Which is pretty interesting.
Outside of that, there isn't too much really that interesting. Obviously, we had the Blue-Black Terror on the Friday in 7th. We've got Mono Blue Terror in 10th here from Discovering, just his normal list. But yeah, still a very distinct lack of Terror from normal. From these 2 challenges, I would say.
Yeah. Happy to move on. If you are, just want to obviously shout out the 8th and 9th place, both avid listeners to the podcast, so shout them out. Crouching Pig in 8th with their stock-looking mono-green elves. They generally, they do like the list, they run 4 Mass Vandals in the sideboard instead of the main. But yeah, big avid listener to the pod. And of course, Marzaboy has moved off Dredge for some ungodly reason and decided to play Wall Spy. But, other than that, still listens to the pod, so avid listener, and shout out to Marzaboy for smashing it with regardless of whatever deck he plays.
Moving on to the Sunday, the 26th, 72 players, so back up to some healthy numbers on the Sunday.
That was my bad. I haven't changed the date. It was actually Sunday the 2nd. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Sunday the 2nd. I just read it and didn't even think, to be honest. It's like, what comes after the 1st? The 26th. Sunday the 2nd, 72 players, so really good numbers. Once again, hopefully we can sort of maintain that for the Sundays. First place, High Tide again.
Woo!
Very much cemented its comeback just before the announcement where it might be getting banned. Second place, Jund Wildfire. Third and fourth, a pair of Grixis Affinities, which is quite interesting. Fifth and sixth, a pair of Mono Blue Terrors. Seventh, Black Red Madness. Eighth, Black Green Fog. And then the 2 near misses, 9th, Blue Black Terror, and 10th, Spy Walls. Quite interesting that the most Terrors we've seen in the top 8 is in the biggest challenge. Which, make of that what you will. They are 2 extremely good Terror players. One is Illuminati with his interesting 4-spike Memory Mystic list. And then the other is GN, who looks like he's playing Discover End's list, or exceedingly similar to Discover End's list.
Yeah, it's pretty close, right?
Outside of that, the High Tide is, again, basically like a fairly stock-looking list. One of Muddle the Mixture, one of Giga Drows, but no Augurs, no Snaps, none of that shenanigans going on. Interesting 13 islands, 2 snow-covered islands split.
Yeah, I did actually want to talk about this just a smidge, right? There's two ways to play High Tide. You either play all of one, which is usually just islands, or you split them. And there's genuine reasons for that, is because on Magic Online it's easier to untap a snow-covered island and island because they put them in separate piles. And then if you're running all islands, or if you run all of one, you run all islands because you're going to, for the first few turns, pretend you're Terra. Basically. They're the 2 benefits for both, right? Why are you only half doing it? They definitely just added whatever lands they had in the collection, right? That's definitely what's going on. I bet they're all mismatched. When they get to play, they're all mismatched. But play either split or all in one, please.
Does it mean Terra should split its islands and pretend to be High Tide?
If it remains unbanned, I'd probably go with yes.
I guess the problem with that is you give the game away very early with Terra. Like, you're just going to go turn 1 snow-covered island, look, I'm High Tide, or Thought Scour myself.
Or snow-covered island Delver.
Yeah.
Like, I'm High Tide, honest.
Interesting ones. Outside of those, Grixis Affinity, I guess, is a bit of a strange one to see.
Both identical, both Luffy's list, right, with the 1 Cryogen, 1 Hunter's Blowgun, right?
Yeah.
But, fair
I
enough.
think they are exactly the same list, right? Interesting.
Yeah, looks like it.
In the sideboard. Maybe the return of Grixis Affinity, honest.
Return of Luffy. Whichever works.
The only other thing, really, that I wanted to mention in this is the 7th place Black Red Madness. It's playing 1 of Wekdu, so Wekdu is in the challenge. It's also playing a 1 of Fodder Tosser, though, which is the card I am more excited about.
Yes.
Yeah, the Modern Horizons card that I guess sort of really started this Black Red Madness archetype, and then just basically fell away and didn't see play. It's a 3-mana artifact that you can tap and discard a card, and it deals 2 damage to target player or Planeswalker. Planeswalker, a bit irrelevant, but yeah, just shocking the face and enabling your Madness cards is quite cool. 3 mana's probably too much, but it is interesting that it sees play.
And it's also permanent, though, right? It like permanently is like just 2 damage.
Yeah, you can keep doing it every turn.
Yeah, which is obviously the interesting part for sure. It's sort of like a Thermo Alchemist for Black Red that you sort of have to answer that. It always impressed me when I played Black Red Madness early on, but it makes me sad when now people don't play it.
Yeah. I guess the interesting thing with it in this list is it's obviously an artifact, but they're still playing the non-artifact age. Without Gal's Blasts, without the bridges.
So if they were to kill it, they either have to naturally have answers in the main deck, or they have to bring an artifact here just for your one of Fodder Tosser.
Yeah, it's basically just the Fodder Tosser and like the occasional blood token, isn't it? So it's probably not worthwhile. Pretty interesting. I definitely think the non-artifact package is the best way to play this deck. Still not sold on either Wekdu or Fodder Tosser, but it's cool to see someone trying them and doing pretty well with them.
For sure.
Any other decks you want to touch on?
Not over. Oh, I just want to obviously shout out Muda in 9th on the Blue-Black Terror. That's more of a
lot more classic Terror, isn't it? Blue-Black Terror.
For sure. With actual kill spells in there, that's not disfiguring the side. They've got an Extractor Confection and Cast Downs along with the Snuff Outs.
Yeah.
And then obviously just show, obviously, not the actual person, but we've got Green Black Fog, which obviously isn't that exciting, but it has been a while since we've seen it. Which sort of goes against what I was saying about Saturday, about having the combo finish. Like, usually your Black Green Fog, you don't want a deck that combos because it has a terrible combo matchup. But this being able to fog stuff against the rest of the field is always pretty solid. But managed to dodge the High Tide, probably.
Yeah, it is a weird one. It does look very sort of out of place in this top 8. It looks like it would probably struggle quite a bit against the other decks because they can sort of just ignore the fog for the most part. Even like the affinity lists, they just get to makeshift munitions and like just ping it to death. Yeah, interesting though that it has got to the top 8.
Definitely. Anything else?
No, I'm happy to move on.
Hot takes from last week?
Yeah. My first... sorry, I'm not first. The listener hot take is first. You just highlighted it, so I'd like
I know.
completely skip past it. The first listener hot take was that Chrysalis would be banned in the next BNR. Obviously, we haven't had this yet. I think it's soon, right? Is it next week or the week before? Week after?
It's next Monday. Yeah.
Cool. So it'll be on the next episode of the podcast, which I will sadly miss. So hopefully they don't do anything. But if they ban Chrysalis, I would be very surprised.
Be pretty interesting. Massive shake-up, potentially. But next one is also a ban one. Is also can answer to his own hot take, because he'll be on next week, is Kalikai's. And we actually marked it as a cold take. And the cold take is there'll be no changes. So that's High Tide still in the format and no other cards banned.
Perfect timing, really, because he'll be on next week to discuss whether there is no changes or whether High Tide gets banned. My hot take from last week is that Terra would continue to be represented less as the format remains strange and open. Sort of true, sort of not true. Obviously, it's got the double top 8 on the Sunday. But I'd say the Friday and the Saturday, there was significantly less Terra than we normally see. The fact 2 of them over the 3 challenges were also blue-black, I think is pretty telling that mono blue Terra as a whole is sort of on a bit of a step back. Although I don't really expect that to last unless something gets banned. Maybe they're all stopping playing it just until after the announcement.
And why have I lost where I was at? Oh yeah. My hot take was that we will see a non-High Tide, non-Spy combo deck top 8 next week. High Tide obviously popped off. Fam's sort of a combo deck, but it's like kind of like more like a mid-range deck with a combo finish, as I sort of touched on earlier. Kind of counts, but kind of not at the same time, in my opinion. But yeah, not kind of what I was thinking, but
there wasn't the most obvious answer, I guess, to that one.
For sure. Hot takes for next week?
Yeah. The first listener hot take is that we'll see new test unbans next week, which I am very much in favour of. Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah, I agree. Regardless of the stringers along with High Tide, like the test unbans have been absolutely fantastic regardless. and it's been
Also,
good to see.
it would be really funny for Pauper again if they're just like, okay, him to Turok's legal. 2 weeks before Pauper again, let's go. brew all your mono black control.
Yeah, it'd be definitely cool. The next one again, I guess we don't have to track the one that Reese just mentioned because it'll happen next week. But the next one, which we'll track, which will actually, I don't mind because all the tracked stuff will go now, so it'll be all right. And that is Avatar Lessons. We'll see playing Mogwarts. And I swear it's not my own. I did not submit this myself. This is from PG Brewing. Just to let you all know.
Yeah, and it's not next week, but is it the week after, right? The Avatar is fully spoiled and playable on Magic Online, I think.
I think so.
So not too long to wait for that. My hot take from next week is that there will be a new co-host next week.
Whoa! I wonder if that's coming true.
Gonna get that free point.
I know, look at that. Mine's probably such a hot take that I don't even believe myself. But yeah, mine is that Terra will be banned next week. I feel like I've already said that.
I will be very sad if that's true.
But I'm more doing this because it'd be really funny. So Reese goes on his honeymoon and has like 3 to 2 days before he goes to play Nationals. And I just find it'd be really hilarious, right? High Tide gets rebanned, Terra gets banned, something else, and then maybe even him to Tura gets unbanned. And it's like, I've got no time to test, but what do I play? Maybe that's just
Mono red.
Yeah. Just be really
mono red.
Just be really funny. The format gets a massive shake-up when you have the inability to test. But anyways, all good fun. Anything else, Dad?
No, that's it from me.
Thank you all for your continued support. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please do not forget to share it with your friends, your family, your local Pauper community, even your train conductor. And that is all from us at Cast and Commons. Don't forget to congratulate Reese in the comments for his marriage of yesterday or day before or whatever it was, whenever it's out. So congratulate him. Until next time. And don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
Bye.